Welcome back to the Scale Up Your Sales and Marketing podcast, which has been created for you to provide practical, no-nonsense support for you as a small business owner. Today, Vic is in the hot seat, and that means only one thing. It's a marketing-related question today. So we're going to be talking about, should you niche? How to narrow your target audience. Over to you, Vic.
Well, it's something I get asked quite a lot, actually. And the easy answer to should you niche is yes, to a point. Yes, to a point that's right, that's comfortable for you. But there's a lot of background that goes into that. So I'm going to start with 5 reasons why you should narrow down your target audience, or niche, as we call it. Number 1 is to save money. Obviously, if we are trying to get our marketing out there to millions of people, millions of businesses, we're going to need loads of money, loads of marketing spend in order to get that message out. Like, even companies that have thousands or millions to spend on marketing still niche. They still work out who that target audience is for that particular product. So by targeting a smaller target audience, you're more likely to reduce the amount of money, or what we call in marketing, the return on investment. You might hear it called ROI. You reduce the amount of money on the ROI that it takes to change a potential customer into a fully fledged real customer. And my take on this is that if you can make the turnover and profit that you need for your business from a smaller audience, then of course you should do. Like, you should focus your time, money and energy. It's all these things that I'm going to come on to. You should focus all of these down to ensure that you're at that right level. Like, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? And you said that there can be a level that you go too far, and I'll come on to that in a bit. But there can be a level where you take it too far and you niche too small. And I think once you find the right level, you will know. You can play about with that, and you can expand your audience, and you can retract it a bit more, and you can make it smaller, make it smaller, make it smaller. And then you'll know that point where it's like, hang on a minute, nobody's now buying. I need to open that up a little bit more. So number 1 is you're going to save money if you narrow down a niche. You're going to save money on your marketing. Number 2 is you're actually going to reduce time wasters. And I really like this one. Because when you know your target audience really well, it means you're not throwing darts at a darts board with a blindfold on. This is the analogy I have. So I don't know about you, Lisa. Are you any good at darts?
Not particularly, no.
I'm not so great either. But imagine that we put a blindfold on you and we twizzled you around a few times, and then we said, now throw the dart at the darts board. It would end up on the wall, right? Or the floor, or the ceiling, or a person. So what we want to do is narrow down that target audience so that you're reducing the time wasters and that the darts are hitting the bullseye and not the wall or the floor. The bullseye means that you've found that perfect customer, that perfect avatar. And we're going to come on to this about how we're going to reveal your ideal target customer in this episode. But once you know who these people are that are prepared to pay your full price and not faff about with wasting your time, expecting you to do things for free or for cheaper than you charge for your product or your service, then life becomes so much easier. Business becomes so much easier because you are targeting the right people who are prepared to pay for what you do. Number 3 is you're going to conserve energy. And this is so important. As business owners, we are spinning so many plates. We are doing the accounts, we are making sure there's enough stock, we are sorting the insurance, we are making sure we're compliant with GDPR, we are doing everything, spinning all them millions of plates. So anything we can do in business to conserve energy is going to be a win, right? I think it's really important because I really struggle with this area. I really struggle with going above and beyond and putting way too much time into doing a lot of things really well. So when I think about our marketing as touch points, when things are simplified, when we know exactly who we're targeting, with what products and services, and what those, we're going to come on to AIDA later in the series, the AIDA model, which is awareness, interest, desire and action. Once we know what the right touch points are for that funnel, life becomes so much easier. And as a business owner, it takes the pressure off me, because I know that me and the team, we all know exactly what is happening, and we've all got each other's backs because we've formulated a plan, and it just makes life a lot easier. So conserve energy was number 3. Number 4 is using the right language. Now, I don't mean like English or French or bad language. What I mean is, you need to take the time to pick up on the language that your target customers use. What words, what phrases, and what colloquialisms. So what like local words do they use? And I'm not talking about scone or scone or that kind of thing, but I can give you a really good example here. During COVID, I worked with 2 ladies that ran a business where they were making roast dinners, and then they were putting them into their cars and going and delivering them for a Sunday lunch. Oh my gosh, it was the best thing ever. And one of the questions that I posed to them was, what word does your customer use for what I would call dessert? Well, I don't know what I call it. It probably depends, dessert or pudding. And I said, what word does your customer use for dessert, sweet, pudding? What do they call it? And so they said, we'll start speaking to them and find out. So being able to use the word, let's say, I don't know what the answer was, but let's say it was pudding. Being able to have on the website, and when they're ringing them up or when they're talking to them, like, oh, your pudding's in the bag, or your pudding's in the other bag, or whatever. When they're using the word pudding, the target customer, because that's the word that they use, it just sounds normal and familiar. If they were to say dessert, right? If they were to say dessert, then the target customer on the website would say dessert. And then when they're saying, oh, by the way, the dessert, I sound like I've got my posh voice on now. The dessert's in the other bag.
But dessert also, to me, when you say dessert, I think of like ice cream and sundaes and waffles and those type of things.
Okay. And you see, it means something different for different people, doesn't it? That's perfect point. So if you use a word that isn't what they're really comfortable with, the problem that can have is that it kind of creates like a jar. I don't mean like a jar. I mean, it creates a barrier. And the problem with that is you want as least barriers as possible, really, right? So when you're selling to a customer, you want them to feel like really comfortable, like they talk my language. They know what I call things, and they're inside my head. They know the kind of things that I'm doing. And there's a brilliant example of this where I've got... I saved it actually, and it's on the wall in my office, and it's from Bowden, and it's on the inside of their cover of their clothing catalogue, right? So you get it come through the door, and on the inside, you open it up, on the inside left page, it says something about, we know you, and it's got like this list of things, and it's like, you're a red wine drinker, and you're dancing all the hours away on a Saturday night, but then you can't wait to get home and put your pyjamas on. You know, like, it spoke to me because it was saying all these things. It's like, and you're this, and you're that, and you're the other. And the impact that this has is massive. So when you know as a business owner, you know, everything we've spoken about in the episodes to this point, this builds on that and adds another layer, is that you're talking the language. Once you know who they are, you're talking their language and you're using the words, colloquialisms, you're using the phrases that they would use. You're putting them at ease and you're making them feel like they're in the right place. So that's number 4. Use the right language. And number 5 is about segmentation. So once you know who your target audience is, which we're going to come on to, once you know who they are, you can then segment further. And so when we talk about niching, this is about niching even further. So in my previous life, I worked in an airline. I worked in the marketing department. We worked on loyalty. So we were in the Diamond Club and we were getting people to fly more frequently. So if you imagine, we already had a niche of people that needed to fly. Predominantly, the people that flew with us were for work. So we had a niche already. But we were then able to use that niche and segment further. We were able to look at recency, frequency, and value. And once you start to build up a customer database, you can start to look at that information and drill down a bit more. So recency is, how recently did they fly? Frequency is, are they flying weekly, or are they flying monthly or quarterly or annually? And value is, well, what's the order value, average order value, or what's the lifetime value of that customer? So you could look at either. So you might have a customer that flies from, I don't know, London to Glasgow once a week, there and back. Flies up on a Monday, comes back on a Friday, right? You could also have another business customer that flies from London to Cairo once a month. So the value might be the same. So the recency could be one flew recently, one didn't. The frequency is one's flying weekly, one's flying monthly or quarterly. And then the value could actually be quite similar because the amount that you're spending on 4 flights a month versus 1 flight a month, because of the distance, they could be about the same. So this means that you've then got options when you know more about, actually, when customers fly less frequently, but they spend more, we're making more profit. Therefore, we need to push that more. We need to push that as a business. We need to make that a priority because that is making us more money at the end of the day. And then you can start to discontinue other things that you do that don't make as much money. So this is why, 5 reasons why you should narrow down your target audience were save money, reduce time wasters, conserve energy, use the right language, and segmentation.
Amazing.
Do you like that?
Love it.
I thought you'd like that one. So I think it'd be a good time for us to talk about how we niche down in our businesses. What example can you give, Lisa?
So, at Find Me the Leads, we work with food and drink producers. Niche number 1.
Tick.
Tick.
Well done.
We work with food and drink producers who are 3 to 5 years old.
Okay, this is good. This is good.
So I'm giving you an example here. Mm-hmm. This is example 1. They are 3 to 5 years old. They've already got some distribution.
Yep.
So they've had to go. Many of them say we've secured listings by luck rather than judgment.
Yep.
So they've had some good wins early on. And then what's happened is they've reached a plateau. So these are food and drink producers, 3 to 5 years old, already got their products in distribution, which means they've already got some good insight into what works where and who are their best sort of customer type.
And they've already navigated that whole external packaging, you know, like you said earlier about six items in an outer, that they've already navigated that external packaging.
They know what their best-selling flavours are,
you
know, pack size, etc. From our point of view, that's really important as well because it means they value our service because they understand
how hard it is.
It's hard, it takes time,
and
it's about knocking on a lot of doors. So that's important from us, they're going to value the service that or the pain that we're taking away from them. And then the last element is that they want to be in independent farm shops and delis. So this is our target. Food and drink producers, 3 to 5 years old, already in distribution, farm shops and delis.
I love that.
Sometimes we go one step further.
Go on.
And we might say farm shops and delis in the southeast, but we wouldn't go lower than that. So we wouldn't go county specific. And the reason is there's not enough. The opportunity is not great enough.
Yeah, so you stay UK-wide.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And that's really interesting because what I talked about at the very beginning was about there can be a fine balance. So that's a perfect example, isn't it? About you reduced because you went to food and drink, you went to 3 to 5 years, you go to, okay, they've already done some distribution. Then you're kind of at the bottom of the tree and then you've got that small segment and then you go, okay, I'm going to trial Southeast. Actually, no, I'm going to come back up. So you kind of drilled down, but then you came back. And that's such a good learning, isn't it? And it's not to say that over time you can't play about with that. You can't, I'm not saying this to you, I'm saying it to kind of everybody, that like no, nothing's ever set in stone. Just because you decide that's what your niche is now, markets change, customers change, that what they need over time changes. You know, even like how the economy changes. We're kind of on a tightrope, aren't we? Because we get to decide exactly what we want to do and how we do it. But we're also so agile and we're able to flip on a coin, a lot like how so many businesses had to do during COVID, is to be able to tweak and refine or overhaul completely, depending on their target audience, what their target audience needed, how things changed.
And your point around conserving energy. So we are a small team, a bijou team. And the reason why we focus specifically on farm shops and delis is because we want to build rapport and relationships with those outlets, because it makes our job easier, because it means we already know that John is the decision maker at Joe Blogg's farm shop.
Yeah.
We know his email, we know his phone number,
and he knows you, and he's going to expect you to call you like, hey,
exactly.
it's Lisa, or hey, it's somebody else from Family the Leads.
And that's amazing, because that means that they answer the phone and are prepared to engage in conversation with us. So that was quite a shift for us in terms of, why don't we just contact these people, the same people each time? Because it's so obvious, but it wasn't obvious until we sort of identified that as a energy conservation project.
Yeah, it's energy conservation, but it's also about reducing time wasters. You already know. And the thing is, these people as your customers, or as your customers, they already know that you have a certain level of retailers on your books and that you're not going to waste their time. Therefore, it's conserving your energy because you're ringing the right people, but also they know they've not got time wasters, and you know you're not speaking to somebody that's going to waste your time because they've already bought or they've already expressed an interest and said, this time it's not right for me, but please keep me up to speed with other products that come along. So that's such a good example. Thank you for sharing that. I think I've got another example of what we do at Touchpoints with our universities. And our Marketing Mavericks programme is aimed at marketing and business students. Now, we have been asked in the past by universities, and when they say, oh, can you open this up to like how to go freelance or how to start a business, full stop? And yeah, we could. But just because you can, does it mean you should? Like, I hear this a lot. Just because you can, does it mean you should? And we can't be everything to everybody. You know, there's a really great saying, like, if you market to everyone, you market to no one. And if we start speaking to different universities going, hey, we've got a self-study course and online live sessions where we can help build your students to start any business, then it's very wide and varied. Whereas when we go to the business school and we know that actually what we have is a course that teaches marketing students how to go freelance, we're really good at that. You know, we've built a team that do this internally, and we can help to build the confidence of students that are finishing their final year of marketing degree to go freelance straight out the gate. Because to be honest, if I knew that was possible back then, I'd have done it myself.
So does that mean, therefore, that when you say you target universities, actually you're targeting universities that offer marketing degrees?
Yeah, and there are 60 in the UK. So we already know this. We know of all the universities in the UK, there are 60 that have a marketing specific course. And that might be fashion marketing, it might be branding, it might be design. Because at the end of the day, if somebody wants to become a graphic designer or a copywriter or a videographer, it's still part of marketing. Or they could be a generalist and work on strategy or work on a range of different marketing channels. But what we do see is such entrepreneurial spirit within the marketing world that we know that we can build them up. And at the same time, we're helping business owners and we help to connect the two together. So when we do that, it's almost self-fulfilling. They are able to support themselves and support each other at the same time and both grow. I
mean, that I know this is your session, but actually that giving you a bit of a shout out, the fact that you said straight away without hesitation, there are 60 of them. So you've already done your research. Yeah. There are hundreds of universities, I'm sure, but you already know, no, there are 60 that we want to talk to.
And we also know that what we do at the moment is UK only, because once you then take, like, for example, we teach students like how to literally set up their business with HMRC, etc. So those rules will be different for different countries. And we do have a section for international students that says, if you're staying in the UK and building a business, this is what you need to do visa-wise. But if you're going to another country, back to your home country, you need to look at like what the government says about setting up a business. Now, that doesn't mean that if somebody in America I don't know, I've got this dream that like an American university will say, hey, Vic, we want to fly you out and talk about being an entrepreneur.
I'll carry your bags.
I'm just putting this out there if anybody wants us. And that they say, like, hey, come out and talk about entrepreneurialism and building your business. Like, we could go out there and do a talk like tomorrow. We could get on that flight. However, we couldn't talk about how to physically do like the HMRC equivalent in America without doing some research. So at this point, in terms of our courses, we know that we should only, because of these like 5 reasons why you should narrow down, we should only conserve our energy on the universities we've got right in front of us. Because, hey, the world's massive, and like we said, we can't serve everybody. You've just got to serve the people that make you the amount of money that you need to operate your business and that makes the amount of profit that you need. Which brings me on to my 5 simple steps to reveal your ideal target audience. And I've got 5 steps again, because it's just nice to have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just make it easy, because as you know, Lisa, we're all about let's not have any faff.
I like 3s. You like?
Oh, do you like
5?
3s?
Oh yeah, I love a 3.
Oh, okay. I wonder if I can narrow this down to 3.
No, don't. No,
Okay,
you
all
stick
right.
with 5s. I'll go with 3s. That's because I'm sales, you see. So I'm like, let's just get to the point.
I think you've got an episode called that, actually, haven't you? Let's just get to the point. And some of these are on a very basic level. So if you're already established, please look at these as it's a refresher. It's just to kind of like jog your memory and just make sure that you're on the right track, or to confirm things. And if you're starting up or you've got a concept idea, these are probably just going to give you a bit of a framework to then start to build things on. So number 1 is about, are they B2B? Are you selling to a business, or are they B2C and you're selling to a consumer? Or do you have a split of both? So some businesses will have 50-50 or 90-10. And so I encourage you to think about your ideal target audience for both, if there is a mixture, or for one, if it is one. So if it's a consumer, really think about, okay, what do I know about this consumer? And there's a lot of work that I do in the 8-week growth program about narrowing down that target audience to the next level, about, you know, what keeps them awake at night, and
Do they drink
red or white. But it gets to that next level about like, what do they stand for? What do they stand against? Like, you know, so many things that I ask that helps you to understand it. And the one I really like is, if it was a famous person, who would it be? Your target audience. If it was a famous person, I'll leave you that one, Lisa. I think you'll have somebody by the end of the episode. So if it is B2B and B2C, what is that split? And are you having multiple avatars, or have you just got one type of customer that you serve your products and services to? Okay, so going down to that next level, if you're selling to a business, what industry are they in? Do you need to like Lisa's niche down into food and drink? Do you need to niche into a specific industry, or are you pretty varied? Like with Touchpoints Marketing, with the things that we do with our businesses, we actually don't mind what industry they're in. We can help with product services, B2B, B2C. It doesn't matter for us in that respect. And then what is the job description of, and you touched on this before when you said in episode 2 about who are you selling it to? What is the job description of that person? So this is recapping on that, really. And is their industry product or service based? So when you're selling it to them, are they product or service based, or both? Because like you said earlier, if you're selling jam into a deli and they've also got a cafe, they are product and service. They are doing both elements of that. And so within number 2, we've talked about the business side of things. If it's a consumer that you're selling to, where are they on their life journey? So are they like Gen Z? They're in their 18, 20 years old? Are they kind of in their early 20s, 30s? Are they having children? Are they buying a house? Like, what else is going on? Are they in their 40s? They're developing their career? Are they in their 50s, starting to get grandchildren? Like, in their journey of life, where are your customers? Ideally. So you might also think, okay, they're going to be aged between this and this. But within those age ranges, there's so much that's going on for that person in their life at that time.
It affects their cash as well, doesn't it? In terms of how much disposable income they have available during those different life stages.
Yeah, and it can fluctuate up and down as they go. So number 3 is the size of the company? So if it's a business, how big is that company? Do you want to deal with people that are solopreneurs or small teams or larger SMEs or large corporations or organisations like universities like we do, or the government, or like how big or how small do you want when you're thinking about your target audience, how big or how small is their business? So that's on the B2B side, but on the B2C side, how big is their family, or how big is their circle of friends, or how big is their circle of influence? Like what is going on for them in their life at that point? Number 4 is about location, which you touched on earlier. So is it that your customers are worldwide? Is it that they are within Europe or within a continent? Are they just in the UK? Are they regional? Is it like just London or just the Northeast? Or is it a few streets? Like when I said earlier about the 2 ladies that had the roast dinner delivery, they knew that actually the best way for them to conserve their energy and to narrow down their target audience was to think about, instead of like the whole of the county, which they could have done, just because you can doesn't mean you should, they literally targeted a few streets that were more affluent, because they thought, well, it's just going to be so much easier, because then we've got one drop where we just go drop, 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 done. We're not having to go up to the north of the county, down to the south, who wants to be doing that on a Sunday? And one street also could relate. I've got an example here, is like the window cleaner. It might be that they want to work on a few streets because that's kind of their zone. That's what they want to do. So it could be worldwide, down to one street, down to a small block of flats that, I don't know, you get to decide. This is the beauty of when we run our own businesses. And the last one, number 5, is I'm going to encourage you to look at your current customer list. So I break this down into 2. You're going to like this, Lisa. I break this into the yay list and the grr list. I started doing this just after COVID, where I wrote a line down the middle of my paper, my A4, and I put yay and I put grr. And then I put, how does this customer make me feel? Do they pay on time? Are they a good customer? Do I get enough joy from it? Do I get enough profit from it? And I listed them in like yay or grr. And and it made me think, okay, so the yays, I want to call more of these type of customers into my life. What are the similarities going on here that I can see? What are the patterns? And also with the grr list. It's not like Tigger, the grr list. What is going on with the grr list, and how can I start to deflect these type of customers in the future? You can decide, can't you, whether you kind of like end something when it comes to the end of a contract, you're like, okay, we're not going to continue, or whether you're going to let them decide when things discontinue. Depends on what your cash flow is at the time. But when you know, okay, these are not a customer that I want to attract more of, it then helps you in the renewal of new customers into your business. So yeah, that's my 5 simple steps to reveal your ideal target audience. And of course, you can go further into this, you can go deeper into it, but it's just the simple steps to make a start. So it was B2B or B2C or both. Number 2 was what industry are they in, or what's their job description, or if it's a consumer, where are they on their life journey. Number 3 is the size of their company or the size of their family and circle of friends. Number 4 was location. And number 5 was your current customer list.
I absolutely love it. I love number 5, and as soon as you said it, a little smile came over my face, and I could straight away. I was like, I know who they are. I suppose the watch out is when you get more on the grrs than you have on the yays.
Yeah, you don't want, if it's like a seesaw, you don't want the balance to be tipped in the direction of the grrs. Thank
you so much. That was absolutely brilliant and so insightful, and I hope that you listening out there got a lot from that. And I think the answer to the question is, should you niche, is a resounding yes, you should.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing is, you'll know when you've got to a specific niche enough. Like, you'll know when you've gone small enough. But my question to you before we finish, Lisa, is have you thought about who your target customer would be? That if it was a famous person, have you had any thoughts?
Oh, I don't actually know. Leave it with me. I'll come back to you at the next episode.
Awesome. Okay. I'll hold you to that.
So join us next time on the Scale Up Your Sales and Marketing podcast. And I'm in the hot seat next time. That's me, Lisa, and which means it's a sales one entitled, Shall We Just Get to the Point?
I love this. I think this is just literally, it epitomises what we are all about, isn't it? Stop faffing around, get to the point. I'm really looking forward to what you've got to say in that one. And don't forget, of course, you can follow us along on Instagram, where you can see some behind the scenes footage. Just look for Scale Up Podcast. See you soon.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.